climates of the globe. In little more than an hour one may swoop down from winter to summer, from an Arctic to a torrid region, through as great changes of climate as one would encounter in travelling from Labrador to Florida. The Indians I had met near the head of the canyon had camped at the foot of it the night before they made the ascent, and I found their fire still smoking on the side of a small tributary stream near Moraine Lake. And on the edge of what is called the Mono Desert, 4 or 5 miles from the lake, I came to a patch of elemus, or wild rye, growing in magnificent waving clumps 6 or 8 feet high, bearing heads 6 to 8 inches long. The crop was ripe, and Indian women are gathering the grain in baskets by bending down large handfuls, beating out the seed and fanning it in the wind. The grains are about 5/8 of an inch long, dark-coloured and sweet. I fancy the bread made from it must be as good as wheat bread. A fine squirrelish employment this wild grain gathering seems, and the women were evidently enjoying it, laughing and chattering, and looking almost natural, though most Indians I have seen are not a whit more natural in their lives than we civilized whites. Perhaps if I knew them better I should like them better. The worst thing about them is their uncleanliness. Nothing truly wild is unclean. Down on the shore of Mono Lake I saw a number of their flimsy huts on the banks of streams that dash swiftly into that Dead Sea, mere brush tents where they lie and eat at their ease. Some of the men were feasting on buffalo berries, lying beneath the tall bushes, now red with fruit. The berries are rather insipid, but they must needs be wholesome, since for days and weeks the Indians, it is said, eat nothing else. In the season they in like manner depend chiefly on the fat larvae of a fly that breeds in the salt water of the lake, or on the big fat corrugated caterpillars of a species of silkworm that feeds on the leaves of the yellow pine. Occasionally a grand rabbit drive is organised, and hundreds are slain with clubs on the lake shore, chased and frightened into a dense crowd by dogs, boys, girls, men and women, and rings of sagebrush fire, when of course they are quickly killed. The skins are made into blankets. In the autumn the more enterprising of the hunters bring in a good many deer, and rarely a wild sheep from the high peaks. Antelopes used to be abundant on the desert at the base of the interior mountain ranges. Sage hens, grouse and squirrel help to vary their wild diet of worms. Pine nuts also from the small interesting Pinus monophylla, and a good bread and good mush are made from acorns and wild rye. Strange to say, they seem to like the lake larvae best of all. Long windrows are washed up on the shore, which they gather and dry like grain for winter use. It is said that wars, on account of encroachment on each other's worm grounds, are of common occurrence among the various tribes and families. Each claims a certain marked portion of the shore. The pine nuts are delicious. Large quantities are gathered every autumn. The tribes of the west flank of the range trade acorns for worms and pine nuts. The squaws carry immense loads on their backs across the rough passes and down the range, making journeys of about 40 or 50 miles each way. The desert around the lake is surprisingly flowery. In many places among the sage bushes I saw mentzelia, ambronia, aster, bigelovia and gilia, all of which seem to enjoy the hot sunshine. The abronia in particular is a delicate, fragrant and most charming plant. Opposite the mouth of the canyon a range of volcanic cones extends southward from the lake, rising abruptly out of the desert like a chain of mountains. The largest of the cones are about 2,500 feet high above lake level, have well-formed craters, and all of them are evidently comparatively recent additions to the landscape. At a distance of a few miles they look like heaps of loose ashes that have never been blasted by either rain or snow. But for all that and all that, Yellow pines are climbing their grey slopes, trying to clothe them and give beauty for ashes. A country of wonderful contrasts. Hot deserts bounded by snow-laden mountains, cinders and ashes scattered on glacier-polished pavements, frost and fire working together in the making of beauty. In the lake are several volcanic islands which show that the waters were once mingled with fire. Glad to get back to the green side of the mountains, though I have enjoyed the grey east side and hope to see more of it. Reading these grand mountain manuscripts, displayed through every vicissitude of heat and cold, calm and storm, upheaving volcanoes and down-grinding glaciers, we see that everything in nature called destruction must be creation, a change from beauty to beauty. Our glacier meadow camp north of Soda Springs seems more beautiful every day. The grass covers all the ground, though the leaves are thread-like in fineness, and in walking on the sod it seems like a plush carpet of marvellous richness and softness, and the purple panicles brushing against one's feet are not felt. This is a typical glacier meadow occupying the basin of a vanished lake, very definitely bounded by walls of the arrowy two-leaved pines, drawn up in handsome orderly array like soldiers on parade. There are many other meadows of the same kind hereabouts embedded in the woods. The main big meadows along the river are the same in general, and extend with but little interruption for 10 or 12 miles, but none I have seen are so finely finished and perfect as this one. It is richer in flowering plants than the prairies of Wisconsin and Illinois were when in all their wild glory. The showy flowers are mostly 3 species of gentian, a purple and a yellow orthocarpus, a goldenrod or 2, a small blue pentstemon, almost like a gentian, pontentilla, ivesia, pedicularis, white violet, kalmia, and bryanthus. There are no coarse, weedy plants. Through this flowery lawn flows a stream silently gliding, swirling, slipping as if careful not to make the slightest noise. It is only about 3 feet wide in most places, widening here and there into pools 6 or 8 feet in diameter, with no apparent current, the banks bossily rounded by the down-curving mossy sod, grass panicles overleaning like miniature pine trees, and rugs of bryanthus spreading here and there over sunken boulders. At the foot of the meadow the stream, rich with the juices of the plants it has refreshed, sings merrily down over shelving rock ledges on its way to the Tuolumne River. The sublime, massive Mount Dana and its companions, green, red and white, loom impressively above the pines along the eastern horizon. A ray or spur of grey, rugged granite crags and mountains on the north, the curiously crested and battlemented Mount Hoffman on the west, and the Cathedral Range on the south, with its grand Cathedral Peak, Cathedral Spires, Unicorn Peak, and several others, grey and pointed, or massively rounded. End of section 13.